Well, I said I would be comparing these two games, and finally I actually am. I know I'm pretty late to the party in terms of talking about the No More Heroes games, but better late than never, I suppose. To be fair, I don't think I've ever seen anyone do this, comparing the two games. I mean, I know they're both pretty similar, but they both have enough differences to warrant comparing the two. Now, with all that said, I don't think any more introduction is necessary. Let's just get on with the versus rant. Admittedly, not a lot happens in the story of the original No More Heroes. It sets up the simple premise of having to take down all 10 ranked fighters, as well as somewhat hinting at a relationship between Travis and Sylvia. Also, at the end, there's a pretty good plot twist that I'm not going to spoil. But other than that, the progression throughout the game is pretty formulaic. Story-wise, I can really only think of two things out of the ordinary that happen between rank 10 and rank 1. That's not to say the characters you meet are uninteresting. In fact, a lot of them are freaking awesome, but the overall progression of the game is pretty formulaic. No More Heroes 2, on the other hand, does have more of a story. Basically, Travis is out for blood after Jasper's goons kill his best friend. This time, Travis has to take down 51 assassins instead of 10. However, they throw in a lot of things to mix it up, like having to fight 25 assassins in one boss fight or a battle royale at one point. Not to mention things like Henry and Shinobu showing up at one point, or Travis's increasing frustration with the UAA really makes the story a lot more interesting. Now, the combat in these two games is so similar you'd think I wouldn't be able to choose one over the other. But that's really not the case. For some honestly hard to describe reason, I find the original's combat more satisfying. Maybe it's because Travis's catchphrases sound more intimidating, or maybe it's because of the slight slowdown before you cut someone in half, but something about the combat in this game just seems more satisfying. Not to mention, the super modes you could go into in the first game after killing a certain amount of people honestly feel more satisfying. Which I know is crazy since in the second game you could turn into a freaking tiger, but I guess that's just how I feel. Here I'm going to be comparing what you have to do in between levels. In both games, there are many games you play in between levels in order to get money so you can buy stuff. The original has the game's traditional art style, while in the sequel they go for a more 8-bit style for the minigames. If you want to know what I think, in the sequel, the good minigames are better than any of the minigames in the original, but the bad ones are worse than any of the minigames in the original. Also, there were side quests that involved killing people. In the first game there were assassination missions, and in the second game there were revenge missions. And the assassination missions are way better. In the first game, not only could you repeat any assassination mission that you wanted to, but they also had a lot more variety to them as well. In the second game, just about every revenge mission is pretty much kill this many people in a certain amount of time, or kill this specific person in a certain amount of time. Also, if you ask me, all the minigames in Ryan's Gym get way too hard towards the end, making it way too hard for you to upgrade your character. So what, the original wins, right? Well, no. If you recall my rant back in the top 10 games of 2015, then you would know just how much I hate the Overworld. I hate how spread out everything is, I hate how glitchy the bike controls are, and I hate how it takes forever to get anywhere. Oh, and let's not forget that bullcrap segment where they steal your motorcycle and force you to walk pretty much all the way to the other side of the city. I know I've said in the past that I like games with big open cities like Saints Row 4 or Lego City Undercover. The difference is that both Steelport and Lego City are a lot more visually interesting, have a lot more places for you to go, and a lot more things for you to do. Not to mention they didn't have really uncomfortable motorcycle controls. But probably the biggest part is that those games are built around their city. While with No More Heroes, you could take the city segments out and the rest of the game would be largely unchanged. And will you look at that, that's exactly what No More Heroes 2 did, making things a lot easier and a lot more convenient to get to. Now, the one thing I really tend to dislike about a lot of beat-em-up games is the level design. The original No More Heroes, though, I thought had a lot of really good levels. They mixed it up a lot. One level you're fighting people on a subway, another level you fight people on a bus with the camera outside the bus, another one you do a 2D shooter, another one you run over people with your motorcycle in a baseball stadium. Not to mention Darkstar's level was pretty cool. Most of the levels in No More Heroes 2 aren't memorable, and if they are, they're memorable for all the wrong reasons. Both of Shinobu's levels feature platforming in a game that clearly was not designed for platforming. I would bring up that weird taunt thing, but for some reason it's not in easy mode. There was Margaret Moonlight's level, which I found incredibly frustrating due to just how long you have to stay in the parking lot picking off bad guys. And then there's Alice's stage. Oh, Alice's stage. This level takes way too freaking long to complete. The only stage I came close to liking, ironically enough, was Jasper's stage. And even then, that's just because the level looks visually interesting. But even then, it still has the same lackluster level design as most of the other levels. I would have just done music for this one, but let's face it, we all know which music tracks we came here to listen to. All the boss themes in both these games are enjoyable to listen to. They all feel unique, just like the bosses themselves. So which game wins? While the music tracks from both these games are pretty much on the same level with each other, No More Heroes 2 has one big trump card. That trump card, of course, being Philistine, Margaret Moonlight's boss theme. It's the song you're listening to right now, and it's incredibly catchy. I listened to it outside the game more than all the other boss themes combined. So yeah, need I say more? So here we are at the moment we've all been waiting for, the bosses. For those of you who don't know, the No More Heroes games practically revolve around the boss fights. And they really are the highlight of the games. So with so many awesome boss fights in the series, how am I going to break this down? Simple, with math. In the original No More Heroes, there were 5 boss fights that really stood out to me as being special. No More Heroes 2, on the other hand, had 7 bosses I particularly liked. However, No More Heroes 2 had the only boss in the series I legitimately hated, Million Gunman. But wait, No More Heroes 2 also has New Destroy Man and Jasper Bat Jr., and while I didn't mind either of them because I was playing on easy mode, but I'm pretty sure that if I faced these guys on a higher difficulty I would hate them as well, so I'll deduct half a point for both of them. Also going to give No More Heroes 2 a point back, however, because in No More Heroes 2 there were 2 bosses that came close to meeting my standards for seeming special but didn't quite get there. While in the original there was really only 1 boss like that. So that leaves the original with 5 and the sequel with 6, so No More Heroes 2 wins, right? No, because there's 10 bosses in the original and 15 in the sequel, and a 5 out of 10 is better than a 6 out of 15. So the original wins. Also for the record, Bad Girl's my favorite boss in the series, just in case you were wondering. So it looks like we've got a tie. Honestly, I think that is pretty accurate as to how I feel about these 2 games. The original does better in some ways, and Desperate Struggle does better in other ways. So yeah, I guess that's my conclusion. They're both good.